let's keep the speed run going into our albums for the episode. We got some big names dropping albums this month. Starting with one of the biggest names in modern metalcore, we have Spiritbox with their sophomore album, Tsunami Sea.
Or Poppy if you're the Grammys.
I guess. Sure, fine. So, following up Eternal Blue, phenomenal debut album. One of the best metalcore albums I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I was not feeling the excitement as much going into this album. The singles were good. I was not nearly as hyped. The album comes around, and my initial reaction was, it's a good album. It's probably the best album I've heard all year. It's not blowing me away the same way I felt when I first heard Eternal Blue. The more time I've had to listen to it, the more that I've grown to love it. But I still feel like there's something holding me back from truly loving it. Like there's still a barrier between me unequivocally loving this and where I'm at with it right now. And I don't know what that is. Is it just, it's been 3.5 years since Eternal Blue and I don't love Spiritbox as much anymore? Probably not, because The Fear of Fear was my EP of the year 2023 and I still love Jaded and Cellar Door and Angel Eyes. What isn't clicking with me on this EP or on this album? I don't know. But it's not feeling the same.
May I propose my issue with it and see if I can answer your question? Go for it,
yes.
I think that Perfect Soul onward is a really good run of songs. I think that if you go back to Eternal Blue, Sunkiller was a phenomenal opener and built energy perfectly into, if you'd heard the single of Hurt You coming into it, you had that expectation.
That 3-song run of Sunkiller, Hurt You, Yellow Jacket is unreal.
Phenomenal. I think that, I believe it's Fata Morgana, maybe it's Fata Morgana, one of the two, is a really mid opener.
Yeah.
And I think that I read somewhere that they had the intention of starting the album off with a gut punch and being like, yeah, we're heavy right from the get-go, like we're getting into it, we love doing that, and that's fine. But you don't have that build of energy. It's just right there from the front. And when you keep it going into Black Rainbow and then dial it back with Perfect Soul into Keep Sweet, and then you bring it back with Soft Spine, and then you get into Eternal Blue 2.0 with Tsunami Sea, it's a roller coaster of sound. Yeah, it feels disjointed. It doesn't feel like you're along for the ride. I found it personally from Fata Morgana and Black Rainbow very hard to engage in the album because it felt like once we finally got into something that I would expect to be more like Spiritboxy, quote unquote, with Perfect Soul, I was already feeling a little disengaged. It felt like two very separate sounds almost to me. Not maybe necessarily instrumentally, but in terms of how heavy or melodic it was. Like, I don't even think Fata Morgana and Black Rainbow are bad songs.
No, they're not. Fata Morgana has actually grown on me a lot. I think I would agree it is a far weaker opener than Sunkiller. But I also don't think that's like the reason why I'm not feeling as great with it. Because even some of the other songs in here, like A Haven with Two Faces, I should love. Because I've really been loving those sort of like slow build songs that like keep on building and progressing throughout the song. A Haven with Two Faces is probably my least favorite song on this album. And
I don't like that take, but I would expect that.
No Loss, No Love is also kind of just fine.
I don't like that, but I would respect that. Yeah. I will say, having said that, I think that those two and Crystal Roses to me probably are the most experimental tracks on here. And I think that something that this album does really well is experiment, because I feel like Eternal Blue was, I won't say safe, but it was relatively safe, especially compared to this album. We Live in a Strange World.
We Live in a Strange World was like the only really experimental song on there, and it's probably my least favorite song on that.
And see, that was one of my favorites off of Eternal Blue, so I really appreciated the experimentation that they did here, but I don't know. I also feel like Eternal Blue spoke a lot more to mental health and emotions than this album did. Not to say that it doesn't, because I feel like it definitely does at certain points, but there's a specific feeling that I read that Courtney wrote this about. I know she mentioned Canada, but like,
It
you know,
literally is.
yeah, her. Well, do you want to talk about it instead, since you live in Canada?
I don't live in the part of Canada that they're
Yeah.
talking about. They're talking apparently this album is written at least partly about Vancouver Island, like a lot of like nature and stuff there. I don't remember which song it is, but there's like some animal that they like distort the sound of in one of the songs and use it as like a scream. I can't remember what it is though. It's like some bird or something. That's like only found on that island, which is kind of cool, honestly. But yeah, like other than that, it's like I don't really see and as someone, so I listened to the album and then I heard about that and it's like, okay, I'll go into this with a different mindset. I tried really hard to like this album, guys. I really did. And I'm going to see Spiritbox next week. I do not like this album. My favorite songs are all the slow ones.
Yeah.
Like
mine
Perfect
too.
Soul, Tsunami Sea, and Deep End. Those are my favorite songs. I don't know. It's I like, yeah. I don't know. I just don't like. It doesn't do anything for me yet.
Yeah. One of the biggest things surrounding Vancouver Island that I read about too is like the feeling of like missing home and feeling attached to that place and like wanting to go back and, you know, being out on the road all the time and feeling homesick. And that's not something that I can personally identify with in the same way that I could a lot of the motifs on Eternal Blue, which was part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. So I feel like what I'm left with is some great experimentation, Spiritbox instrumentation that's always going to be good. Courtney's a phenomenal vocalist. I'm for that reason, and again, like I mentioned, the first two tracks feeling so heavy and out of place for me, it's hard to connect to it and get invested into the album in the way that I wish that I could, based solely off the strength of some of these songs. I mean, I know Jake, you said they were your least favorites, but A Haven with Two Faces, No Loss, No Love, Crystal Roses. I thought Ride the Wave and Deep End were a phenomenal way to end the album.
Now that we finally mentioned Ride the Wave, that is by far my favorite song on this album and potentially my favorite song I've heard all year.
Yeah, it's up there.
Ride the Wave is the moment where I truly remembered what it felt like to love Spiritbox again on this album. Like my first listen to this album, I was like, where's the circle with me? Where's the hurt you? Where's the jaded? And I think like Perfect Soul is supposed to be like one of those songs that like I probably should have liked Perfect Soul more than I do. But I was waiting for that one Spiritbox song that has been on every Spiritbox release where on first listen, I'm like, that's the one. And Ride the Wave, that's the one for me. It was the one song on first listen where I was like, okay, I'm feeling this. Like for the first time on the entire album, it's not like, okay, I'm enjoying this, but I'm still feeling a little detached. From the moment I hear that very ethereal, haunting sort of guitar tone in that first verse of Ride the Wave, I was along for the ride. And the chorus is phenomenal. The lyrics are some of my favorite lyrics on any song I've heard all year. Ride the Wave is the one song that's really giving me hope for this album to grow on me, because I can tell that there is a story being told with Ride the Wave that surely has to connect to other songs on this album that I haven't been able to piece together.
A lot of, I mean, what's up, Jake?
I think another thing for me is this Spiritbox only has 2 albums. Both albums are themed around water. I think we need to move on to something else. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, that's just another thought I had.
Yeah, well, I think it makes it because of that fact, because I agree. And I think that what really gets me with that is I find myself comparing it very strongly to Eternal Blue because of that fact. And that just was such an incredible album that they set the bar a little high. So to match it or top it would be difficult. And I don't think that this is like a step in the wrong direction. I just think that it's like
It's sideways.
yeah, it's sideways, maybe
Yeah.
a little slightly backward in some respects,
Mhm.
slightly forward in others. I think there's a lot of great experimentation on here, but I don't know. After Eternal Blue, I would hope that Spiritbox would drop another album of that caliber. And I've seen a lot of people have love for this album and appreciate it. For me, it doesn't quite hit that mark. But like you said, Jake, I mean, I think I'm a little higher on some of the other songs than you might be. But I because of the strength of those songs, or songs like Ride the Wave, I do have faith in this album to hopefully grow on me. I also, we haven't mentioned it yet. I want to give a shout out to Keep Sweet, which I think, lyrically,
You're
sonically, one of the best songs on the album. Yeah, the chorus is incredible. The theme is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Keep Sweet. That's the first moment on this album for me where I'm really like, okay, like I'm starting to get hooked in. Again, like you said, I want to like Perfect Soul more than I should. Definitely feels like that quintessential Spiritbox song that should rope me in, and it doesn't. But
I think for me as well, another thing is the Fear of Fear was a step in the right direction. As someone who thinks Eternal Blue is like an okay album, not like it's good. It's not great. It's not fantastic. It's good. I think the Fear of Fear was definitely a step in the right direction, and I think it was an album or an EP that I really loved. I think it was my number 2 or 3 when it came out of the year, and yeah, I actually would say this is a step back from the Fear of Fear for me.
I think I would agree. It's not a huge step back, but I think I definitely enjoyed the Fear of Fear more. On the whole, I think Ride the Wave is better than any song on that EP, but I just want to read out some of the lyrics on Ride the Wave because it's some of my favorite lyrics I've heard all year, and it's giving me hope to try and dig deeper into this album as time goes on, and hopefully I'll piece something together. But the chorus of Ride the Wave like a message in the bottle for the only words I ever want to hear. I will wait with syllables I swallow, bitter taste until they disappear. I try to tell myself those words are for someone else, a delusion I feel so clear. My heart corrodes itself, a vessel I can't compel to break open when you pull me near. My best interpretation is that it's supposed to be like you have these thoughts of like reaching out to someone, but you also have some hesitations on why, when in reality, like you probably should, but these hesitations are holding you back. And if you just like rode the wave instead of self-doubting, then like the message in a bottle would like reconnect you to whatever. Like, I don't know. That feels a little convoluted, but there's it's such a beautifully written chorus that there has to be something more to it that I'm not picking up. But then also the breakdown in Ride the Wave reminds me of Hysteria, one of my favorite breakdowns of all time. So combining that sort of energy with such a beautiful chorus, it's without a doubt one of my favorite songs I've heard all year. Not enough to redeem the album as a whole, but yeah, I think Ride the Wave is actually my most listened to song of 2020, 2025. So
deserved.
We'll see if this makes my top 10 come end of year. Or even top 5, maybe. I'm not as optimistic about its chances as I was with Eternal Blue, but I think there's a very real shot that it could.
Agreed.
Because like if you take all of these songs at face value, I really enjoy just about every song on here. It's when you put them together, something isn't clicking.
Sounds like it's something different for you and me, but hopefully for both of us, that thing will come into place.